WFYI podcasts are made possible by Bloomington, Indiana, an American college town offering experiences like indulging in grub at Nick's English Hut, taking a stroll along Kirkwood Avenue, feeling the history and magic of Assembly Hall, and providing the chance to feel like a college kid again. Plan your trip at visitbloomington.com.
WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Indianapolis Shakespeare Company, presenting Riverside, a play by M.L. Roberts, July 18th to the 27th at Taggart Memorial Amphitheater. More at indieshakes.com.
This is Small Studio Signal Boost from WFYI. I'm Melissa Davis, your host tonight, along with co-host Adam Gross. This evening, we'll hear a top 5 from the owner of Lafayette's Mom and Pop Productions. James Henry Voelz shares 5 songs from artists who recently played or will soon be playing in the greater Lafayette area. We'll also hear about Mom and Pop's production work in the Lafayette music scene. We have a new batch of local frequency tracks for July. We'll take a deep dive into the songs from After Ours, Star Chaser, and Tonehauser. Stay with us for an hour of new music from Indiana-based artists here on Small Studio Signal Boost. So let's get to our first song of the evening. Adam, what do you have?
Yeah, so I have a new track from Indianapolis band Wishy. This is a brand new single that's going to be featured on their new album 777, which will be out next month. And that album already made the list of Brooklyn Vegans albums they're looking forward to this summer. So they're getting a lot of buzz already. And they're getting ready to head out on tour this fall in Europe and the United States.
Oh, cool.
Which is super exciting.
Yeah.
We'll hear more later in the show about where you can catch the band live in Indianapolis this month. For now, this is Wishy with Sick Sweet. That was Wishy with Sick Sweet here on Small Studio Signal Boost. I'm Adam Gross here with Melissa Davis. Coming up, we'll hear a top 5 songs from James Henry Voelz, founder of Lafayette's Mom and Pop Productions. But first, we have some more new Indiana music to listen to. Indianapolis hip-hop artist D-Yop is now making music under the name Yop. That's Y-O-P. He's got a brand new music video out for this single on his YouTube and social media pages. It's Yop with Undrafted.
I've been the greatest, I don't give a fuck debated. Yeah. Never been a hater, I was taught to be a player. Yeah. Never imitated, cause they cannot duplicate it. Never. I answer prayers every time I do a favor. It's an understatement saying that I'm underrated. Yeah. Like a laser, I've been focused and I'm getting paper. I've been dedicated, that's why I'm a detonated. Yeah. All black like a raider, serving like a cater. It's all about the way you do it when you do it, nigga. Don't let them tell you different, just be different, nigga. Been proving and showing, you know the flow is sicker.
That was Yop with Undrafted here on Small Studio Signal Boost. I'm Adam Gross with co-host Melissa Davis, and we're listening to new music from Indiana-based artists. Indianapolis band Sweet Poison Victim just released their long-anticipated new album Ringgold Avenue High Life. Here's one from that. It's Sweet Poison Victim with Male.
Male, oh, male, 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 yeah, yeah, male, 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 ha, male, male. Ayele di no kulo mi do baba. Ayele di no kulo mi do baba. Ayele di do baba.
Let's hear another one from Sweet Poison Victim's new album. This is Kalamba on Small Studio Signal Boost.
Kalamba, Oyeba, Sisimo, Nigeja Ifre, Weibo. Nigeja Ifre, Weibo. Kalamba, Oso Kalamba, Yeso. Kalambe Yabo. Oso Kalamba, Yeso. Kalambe Yabo. Oso Kalamba, Yeso.
You're tuned to Small Studio Signal Boost. You can check out the music featured tonight on our Spotify playlist by searching WFYI Music. And Adam, you have a new top 5 for our Lafayette friends.
Yeah, that's right. So James Henry Voelz is the founder and owner of Mom and Pop Productions, a show promotions company based in Lafayette. He'll share 5 songs with me in just a moment, but first we chatted about his business and his history in the Lafayette music scene. James, thanks for coming on the show today.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you run a productions company up in the greater Lafayette area called Mom and Pop Productions. How long have you been doing that?
Since 2006, I started booking shows, and then 2007 is when I got the name.
Wow, that's a long time to be running like a show promotions company.
Yeah. And it doesn't seem like it or feel like it either.
Well, that's great. I don't know if that's real or sarcasm, but it's great.
No, I
way.
mean, it's definitely real.
That's awesome. Can you talk a little bit about the work that you do with Mom and Pop? What kind of events do you put on?
Sure. As of right now, I do a lot of pop-up shows. That's kind of the direction I've switched over to. So I kind of have shows in unique spaces, weird spaces. That's more the direction I'm going towards. And then I have a couple regular music series, one at People's Brewing Company every Tuesday night. And then I have a regular series called Punk at the Pub, which is at North End Pub.
Can you give me an example or two of some of the more less than typical places that you put on shows?
Sure. Yeah. Like we've done house shows. That's been pretty steady, this past year. There is a new, space that our friends just converted into an Airbnb, and it's Lafayette's oldest church. And so we've been, planning some dinner parties there where we're going to have my buddy cook some like courses and have some bands play in a freshly renovated church. So those are kind of the ones that we're focused on right now. And then I'm starting a music series with our local co-op. We have a music co-op here in Lafayette called Friends of Bob, and we'll be doing some events at Duncan Hall this fall.
So you mentioned a couple of Lafayette venues already, in addition to some of the more non-traditional spaces where you have shows. But if someone were to want to start going out to see local music in the Lafayette region, but they didn't know where to start, aside from People's Brewing or Punk at the Pub, do you have any other recommendations? Are there any other venues regularly having local shows?
Oh, for sure. The campus scene here has exploded these past few years. You know, that might be a little bit of a challenge for an older demographic, but there are so many house venues over at Purdue right now. It's mind-boggling. They pop up almost every semester. There's a new one that I haven't heard of, with new bands popping up left and right. And that just really gets me excited, because we've kind of been in a lull for the last 10 years or so, especially after COVID. You saw a lot of bands break up and a lot of key players in our scene move away. So it's really refreshing to be able to see all of that happening and see younger kids excited about playing instruments and being in bands and writing songs and, you know, thinking about their artwork for their albums and making videos and stuff like that. It's been really exciting. And then recently there's been a new coffee shop. Well, they're not new, but they got their own space called the 11th House. And they were operating out of the Spot Tavern, which is also a place where you should go and see bands play. They have music almost every weekend and sporadically throughout the week. But Gianna was operating out of the Spot as a pop-up coffee shop, and she just got her own place. And that has filled in the gap of not really having a place for all ages shows in this town. And so the 11th House has been doing punk and metal, and they've had some jazz bands playing there. We also have Digby's, which is more of like a kind of like a bar, but they have an amazing patio that usually features local bands. I know I'm probably forgetting places. That's just what I can name off the top of my
That's fine.
head.
That's plenty. That's a really good starting spot. Yeah, no, that's great.
Okay. Cool.
So let's do the same thing with bands. I know we're going to hear your top 5 in just a second, but if you had to just throw out just like a handful of bands, if someone wanted to crack into the local music scene, listen to some local bands, but they didn't really know where to start, do you have a few recommendations for heavy hitters?
Oh man, yeah, that is hard. And again, I'm gonna feel really bad for missing some of these bands. I'm really heavy into the punk and metal scene, so I'm gonna name drop a few of those for sure. We got GPD, which is a conglomerate of all these other local punk and metal bands that have played in town over the years. So that's kind of like an all-star band. The Jackies would be another one. That's like kind of another all-star punk band coming up in the scene. Yesterday's Chips, if I didn't already mention them, those are some of the punk bands. King's Gambit is another hardcore band out of the area. And then we would have Coyote Bear, who's like kind of a more of a Americana type act, a really amazing songwriter, kind of the cream of the crop for up here in Lafayette. Fergus Daly would be another one if you wanted to talk about songwriters, just a powerhouse songwriter who's been around for probably 20 or 30 years at this point. I might be embellishing that, but he's been around for a while and his band's just absolutely amazing. Oh, and I can't forget the Prannies. I always got to name drop the Prannies. They're one of my favorite rock and roll bands we have in this town.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've played one of their songs on the show before. I really enjoy them.
Oh, the Prannies?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. They actually have a new album out if you haven't heard it. So you should definitely go check that out if you weren't aware.
That's great news. Okay, so let's get to your top 5. You brought 5 songs to share for us, and you have a little bit of a theme.
Yeah, kind of. I'm really bad at homework, and I'm really kind of ADHD, so it's hard for me to like focus on one thing. And I actually made a few lists that I couldn't whittle down to 5. So this is kind of like all of the lists put together.
That's great.
So this is also in no particular order because I just can't do that. I'm just a huge music fan, and I don't really like to rank things because everybody has their own thing to offer in their own special way. But I guess, okay, so my first one would be Daniel Villarreal, and he is a percussionist out of Chicago, and the song I picked was called Uncanny off of his album that came out on International Anthem. I've had Daniel play here several times in Lafayette, and we're going to be presenting him at Duncan Hall in September.
That was Daniel Villarreal with Uncanny. You're tuned to Small Studio Signal Boost, and I'm here with James Henry Voelz, owner of Mom and Pop Productions in Lafayette, Indiana. And we're listening to 5 songs that you brought. And these are all artists that are either playing soon in Lafayette or that you've had come through in Lafayette recently, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So who's next?
Okay, up next we got Jim Lauderdale, and this song is called No Later Than Soon, and it is actually on an album that he co-wrote with and collaborated with Robert Hunter, who is a pretty famous songwriter, did a lot of stuff with the Grateful Dead, Bob Dylan, and Elvis Costello. And we had Jim play at the brewery last fall. He is just a songwriting powerhouse, cream of the crop Nashville royalty. I mean, his repertoire is insane. He's collaborated with Ralph Stanley. He recently did something with an album with Dawn and the Buffalo. He's won several Grammys. And so I was really kind of surprised to have him through and play at the brewery because he's just a larger than life songwriter.
I don't want a dollar bill, don't want a dime, don't want no silver quarter, just can't tell. I can't tell.
All right, up next, I know we've got a great band from Indianapolis who the whole city loves, but it's a name we can't really say on the air because it has an expletive in it. It's not FCC friendly. We call them Pat and the Pizzas. It's not pizza. It's another word that starts with P. If you think about it, you can probably figure it out. So you have a Pat and the Pizzas song for us next, right?
Yeah, and this song is called Power Trip. And I've just been following this band for years. I've seen them play several times. I gobble up everything they release. I find them to just be a very consistent, solid band that is doing really interesting things within a genre that gets boring very quickly. I guess not boring, but just repetitive. I've had them play up here at North End Pub. They did one of the Punk at the Pub series. And I just think that they're one of those energetic bands that the whole world should probably know about. And this song's called Power Trip.
Turning tricks off indifference. Ignore the air chip, it doesn't fit. Coward calls from your socialist. Ignore the air chip, it doesn't fit. Power trip at 28 minutes. The world's so small, we're gonna center of it. Coward calls from the internet.
Up next, I picked a song called Last Night by Noble Hobo, who is a one-man band act out of Detroit, Michigan. And I recently discovered him. He actually emailed me looking for a show probably 4 or 5 months ago, and I've just been enthralled with his music ever since. I got to see him play in Newport, Kentucky at a music festival recently, and had him play at the brewery for our Tuesday night series. And it's just really refreshing to see a younger generation of songwriters kind of carrying on the rambling, train hopping, hitchhiking kind of folk tradition. And I just really love his new album, and I hope to see him come through a lot more, and really hope that everybody checks him out. But here's a sample of that, Last Night by Noble Hobo.
I was thinking about you last night, from Broad Street out to the country. We were sitting by the firelight, swapping stories of our lives. I was sneaking peeks at the moon, wondering if you're thinking of me too. I was thinking about.
And so then last but not least, this song is called Heist Cold by one of the funnest bands I've ever seen come out of Indiana. They're called the Chugs, and they're from Evansville. And they have infectious hooks, kind of have a surfy pop sensibility with a very heavy edge. And all of their songs are about drinking Ham's beer. And they are the total package of chugging, sing-along songs. And I swear they're one of the funnest bands I've seen come out of the state. And we're actually going to have them at Punk at the Pub on July 26th at North End Pub.
That was Evansville's The Chugs with Heist Cold. You're tuned to Small Studio Signal Boost, and I'm talking to James Henry Voelz, owner of Mom and Pop Productions based out of Lafayette, Indiana. And James, if people like the music they heard, if they'd like to go see some of your shows, where can they hear about your shows, find out about you online?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I got a website, momandpopproductions.com. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook. I have a TikTok. You could also find show listings at peoplesbrew.com for the Tuesday night shows. And like I mentioned, we have We have some pop-up shows that happen there pretty consistently, at least once a month. Yeah, so you could follow all of that, check me out. And I think I have a YouTube channel too. It's not very up to date, but you can check out. I always have a playlist on my YouTube channel for the coming shows for each month.
Perfect. And do you have any shows you'd like to shout out that you have coming up?
Sure, yeah. Coming up next week, July 16th at People's Brewing Company, we have the Claudettes coming. They're kind of like a cabaret, rock and roll, jazz, blues explosion. Super fun. And on July 20th, I have a event called the Twilight Music Series, which happens at McDonald Park in Attica. That's kind of another pop-up type event that we do, and Justin Wells will be performing there on July 20th starting at 6 p.m.
Well, James, thanks so much for coming on and chatting with me and sharing these songs and telling us about your business.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Adam. I really appreciate it. This was super fun.
Thanks, James Henry Voelz, for that top 5. Coming up, we'll do a deep dive into this month's local frequency tracks. We'll be right back with that after the break here on Small Studio Signal Boost.
WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Indianapolis Shakespeare Company, presenting Riverside, a play by M.L. Roberts, July 18th to the 27th at Taggart Memorial Amphitheater. More at indieshakes.com.
This is Small Studio Signal Boost. Thanks for listening tonight. You can find the music featured by following our playlists. Just search for WFYI Music on Spotify. And you can find the podcast edition of the show wherever you get your podcasts or at WFYI.org/podcasts. I'm Melissa Davis, joined by Adam Gross. And Adam, you have a new batch of local frequency beds this month. And for those who haven't heard of local frequency before, can you explain the series?
Yeah, so every month I choose 3 tracks from Indiana-based artists, and we play snippets of them in the natural program breaks on the station throughout the day on WFYI. And as of this month, they're on WBAA as well, which is super exciting. And if you make music and live in Indiana, you can always submit your music to this show and local frequency at WFYI.org/local-frequency. So like you said, Melissa, I have 3 new tracks for this month. I want to start with a track from Indianapolis-based band Star Chaser. This one is called Final Stellation, and it features a spoken word segment by Michael Bauman. This one was written for Heron's RSA grant program. It's Star Chaser with Final Stellation.
What a cool song. Adam, one of the members of this band played in a band for our small studio sessions back in the day.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kara Tucker was in the band Elliot Bigger.
Yes, such a good band. And she is like an expert level guitar player, shredding and playing.
Oh, yeah.
So good. So love that selection.
Yeah, she's a real top-notch musician all around.
And she's pretty active on YouTube, right? Or
Yeah. There's a music video for this song out on YouTube. Yeah, I highly recommend checking it out. And there's other music videos as well and all kinds of content out there. So follow on social media and check out on YouTube if you do that kind of thing. So up next, I have a track from another Indianapolis artist. This is Tonehauser. The track is Spiritual Surveillance State, and this one was featured on the Beat Blitz compilation by Modbang Records, which is based out of Seattle, Washington. Here's Tonehauser with Spiritual Surveillance State. That was Tonehauser with Spiritual Surveillance State. You're tuned to Small Studio Signal Boost, and we're listening to this month's local frequency tracks. Fun fact about Tonehauser, the name is a pseudonym for B.C. Nelson, who played in Sweet Poison Victim, who we heard from earlier in the show. He played keys on that record. It's full circle.
Very cool.
Up next, the last local frequency track for this month is from a duo based in both South Bend and Asheville, North Carolina. So Indiana, North Carolina combo. This is from their album Music for Cats, which is a nice title. This is South Bend band After Hours with Aloe Vera.
Great selection of local frequency tracks. We'll be looking forward to hearing that music on WFYI and WBAA this month.
Yeah.
I believe we have a list of all the local frequency tracks so far, don't we?
Yeah, so all of the instrumental ones that are available on Spotify, I make a playlist of. So we have over 6 hours now, I believe, of instrumental tracks from Indiana-based artists. You just search local frequency or WFYI music and it'll pop up there. Super good for like working from home or working out. There's a big variety, everything from metal to classical to ambient noise or chill beats and everything in between. So check it out.
Love it. Thanks for curating that.
Oh yeah, it's a joy.
All right. Well, what's going on in the world of live music this week?
Oh yes, enough of the recorded music. Let's get to live. So TJ Reynolds, who we had on the show last week, is coming back to Indianapolis to play 2 shows this week. Tuesday, the 16th, he's playing at the Melody Inn with Spread, Clint Breeze, Defame, Devin Ashley, and Mike Graves. That is an all-star lineup for a Tuesday especially.
Yeah.
That's a must-see. And Thursday, the 18th, he's the featured performer at Lyrics and Libations at Soundspace. And then the next night, Friday, the 19th, there are a ton of good shows in Indy, but there's 2 that I want to shout out. One is one that I'll be playing, so some shameless self-promotion at Square Cat Vinyl in Fountain Square. That's with local acts Everything Now and Fantastic Shams and touring act Ryan Davis and the Roadhouse Band. Then across the street at the Hi-Fi Annex is a big show. Legendary indie rock band Guided by Voices is headlining that night, and local Indianapolis band Wishy, who we heard from earlier in this show, is opening the night. So that should be a good one. They're right across the street from each other, so you could even do both if you're feeling energized. So that's Friday the 19th. And then WFYI and Signal Boost are partnering with local act Remington Hill on a show Friday, August 2nd. That's at the Deluxe at Old National Center. Should be a great night with a lot of special guests. And we'll hear an interview with Remington on this show in the coming weeks, so stay tuned for that.
That is a great selection of shows. So much fun in the summer to go to one show from another in Fountain Square. It's like such a fun Indianapolis thing to do.
It is. It really is.
Good times. Well, that's the latest in Indiana music. Be sure to follow your favorite artist on social media for updates and info. This is Small Studio Signal Boost. Adam Gross and Roxana Caldwell created our show. This episode was produced by Adam Gross and me, Melissa Davis. You can check out the podcast edition of the show wherever you get podcasts or at WFYI.org. And if you'd like to submit your music to get played on the show, just visit WFYI.org/local-frequency. All right, we're at our last song of the night. Adam, what do we have?
Yeah, I've got another track from Sweet Poison Victim's new album. This is Momo on Small Studio Signal Boost. Have a great night.
WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Indianapolis Shakespeare Company, presenting Riverside, a play by M.L. Roberts. July 18th to the 27th at Taggart Memorial Amphitheater. More at indieshakes.com.